Find your path with the knowledge of others and become an illuminator for those who struggle. Guide their way just by being true and being in alignment, because it comes naturally to you. On self-discovery wisdom, we share to find inspiration with lessons for millions. We hope you listen.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My wonderful guest today is Liz Goll, Lerner, which is a beautiful title to the show. It's like, when is it a call to action and when is it a calling? I think so apropos to talk about this, because so many times, we need to awaken the spark within and healing through the process and truth and that self-discovery. But when do we know it is a calling? She says there are several ways that she comes to the realm of healing and helping. She has a long belief that whatever has been a struggle in her life that it has been able to overcome has within the knowledge of experience that can help others find their way through their difficulty and transformation. The keys that she has uncovered, that she believes that the most significant in the journey are being present to the when we are living, integral to the head and the heart, learning how to have healthy boundaries, learning how to communicate that which is our truth. She could speak for hours on this, and we've got an hour and we're going to speaking about this. We're going to be talking about the archetypes and the saboteurs or the champions, the specialness in finding that true spark that makes us know without a doubt that we are meant to be here. And that spark, though it sounds hardest to the people, is really the simplest because we're born with it. The rest is taught. For her, seeking and knowing that what is is more obvious than the physical world made her a seeker and go deep very early on. Her own trials and tribulations and insecurities and struggles were abundant, as was her strength in life. And she especially through special early trauma taught her strength, fear, survival, self-perseverance, and the ways to move on eventually in healing. That has made her the clinician that she is today, being add on the wisdom and the great education that the tools are helped to immerse. Early stories of her work inspiration brought many, but later to expand the work that recognizing that integrate her knowledge and her energy, medicine, mind, body, the individual strength and the healing understanding of the early conditioning, and create the life that we want to live and explore the way we want to do the world. We're going to be talking about her book, Divorce Well and Thrive, Your Guide to Being the Best Self Under the Worst Circumstances. And she has a special 30-minute call for us that we'll give you a call out for later. But let's just talk about that title for a start. Is it a call to action or is it a calling? I think that call to action is how we discover the calling, isn't it, Liz? Welcome.
Hi. Great to be here. Thank you for having me. I think it starts with a spark of inspiration, and the call to action is often connected to our intuition. So we have a feeling to call someone and it's the exact right moment, a feeling to walk down a particular street and it puts in that last piece in the puzzle of our next step, right? A lot of times I think a call to action is actually a one-off, right? It might lead us to something amazing, but it kind of has a closed loop. We have a call, we do something, it meets a need, etc. But then there's the calling, that inspiration, that call to act. All of them are calls to action, right?
Yes.
But the calling is more about that thought that won't let go.
Yeah.
That piece that keeps coming up and again, it seems like it could be complete nonsense. It makes no sense at all. Or it's, why would I do that? I already have a business. Or why would I do that? I'm perfectly happy and complacent in my life.
Complacent.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't let us rest
No.
until something happens. And it's something that continues on,
Mm,
that call to action. It's part
yeah.
of the sort of the ethos of our lives and our journey and where we go, how it opens up.
I think it becomes the reason that we get up every day. And it's, excuse me, folks, I have a froggy in my throat today. So if you're used to hearing me, yes, it's me. I'm just for some reason croaky today. I think it's like, the call to action is I need to do this to get there or to accomplish this.
Hmm.
The calling is I am compelled to do this. It
Yeah.
feeds my heart, my soul, my spirit. It's the reason I get up every day. And it's something so utterly meaningful, and it
Hmm.
feeds you in every aspect of yourself. And I think that's when you know you've got the calling. It's like, why do you do it? I just do.
Right. And that's what's so important because it's the body that's
Mm,
telling you to. I just had a funny uh, moving my house experience because
mm,
I was looking for a particular, I had a checklist.
yes, yes.
And but I kept coming to this one place, and it's totally impractical for many reasons. But I would walk into the place and my heart would open. I would feel immense joy. The energy was incredible. And it was impractical. It didn't have the right storage space. It didn't have cabinets that were standard. It did like all
Hmm.
kinds of things, right? And so I looked at, I don't know how many, 30 apartments, 30 other houses. I mean, just to not live where I have chosen to live.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
and I think what is so interesting about that is that sometimes we have to trust
Hmm.
that what we're feeling and what we know is actually right, even if it makes very little sense on a logical frame. Oh, too many problems, too many this, too many that. But it's that road that then opens that door to
Hmm.
whatever is next, whatever that, next step, that calling that you're talking
Yeah.
about that
Hmm.
says, okay, this is my reason, my raison d'etre. This is why I'm here. And sometimes that's an evolutionary journey,
Yes, yes.
right? And so we have to really pay attention and trust that when we are connecting our head and our heart, and when we really are allowing ourselves to be present in our bodies and the moment we're living in,
Yeah.
then it's like the whole door opens, everything just opens up. Even if we don't know exactly
Well, I
what's
don't think we're
happening.
meant to know exactly. It's like
Yeah.
you know what you wanted, the universe knew what you needed.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that's the difference. We have such a dictation of what we think we want, but the
Yeah.
universe knows better.
Yeah.
And so it will always lead us to what we need. And then we look at it and go, well, I don't know. I don't know. Well, I mean, what
Well,
do
I
you
kept
mean?
saying exactly. I kept
Yeah.
saying there's got to be a reason.
Hmm.
There's got to be a
And
reason
surrender
that
to the reason and
and
allow.
and and I'm so excited to have
Hmm.
done it. You
Yes.
know, it's a whole new journey.
I moved 2 years ago, so I know what that means. And was still in the stage of fixing things up, which
Yeah.
is always what happens. But for me, like 2 years ago, I moved here. In fact, my kids, bless them, my daughter and my son-in-law, bought me a home to be near them.
Oh,
Right? Like, we
very
need you, mom. We
sweet.
need you, Nana. We want you to be in the kids' lives. And they knew I couldn't afford it. And so they bought me a
Oh.
little home. And we looked around at a whole load of stuff. And all the apartments were like The Shining, expecting the two kids to come down the hall. And I said, you want me to go through fire doors and this and that, carrying groceries. And this is meant to be my forever home and to carry a pile of kids with me, And so,
How's that going to work?
exactly. So, I come from solid bricks and mortars, beautiful homes. That's what I've grown. I've lived
Me
in
too.
every shape you can configure, I've lived in. I'm now in a mobile home and never
Wow.
would have been on my list, but it was at least 500 square feet bigger than an apartment. I have a deck. I have a garden. I'm
Oh,
covered and around by a green belt, deer in the garden. I feed the
wonderful.
stray cats, the hummingbirds, you name it. And I'm actually kind of in the center, very close in my city. And it's like, I never would have ordered this for me.
Right. Right.
But when I
Exactly.
came in, it
Wasn't
was like
on the
home.
prescription.
Yeah, exactly. And I think very often we're still working under that conditioning of what we think we want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like part of that evolution to your calling is allow the universe to take us
Right.
to
Exactly.
where we need to be and then be present with it.
Right. Right. And then allow yourself to be creative
Mm,
and be um brave,
yeah. And
just
people, what is, being brave? I think, it is that resilience. It is that
yeah.
get up and go no matter how many times you're knocked down.
Mhm.
It is
Mhm.
taking a step blind, deaf, and dumb in order to see, hear, and feel,
Right.
and that's really what the bravado is. Because if we're waiting for an instruction book or
Mhm.
manual, and if we're waiting for permission, we will never
Or
get
if
out the
we
gate.
believe that we have gotten that
Right,
manual,
true. Oh, I'm
right?
where I always
And we
wanted to
are,
be.
it's interesting. I was working with a coaching client earlier today, and we were talking about, the shoulds, the
Mm,
supposed to's, right?
mhm,
And the real mindset around it. And one of the things we were talking about was, okay, so that voice in your head
mhm.
that says, this is right, you are wrong. This is, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, when was the first time you were not born with
Mm,
that information,
no, no.
right? So where did it come from? And once
Mm,
you understand where it comes from, then you can choose. Then you can say, oh, do I agree with this? Oh, that was that
yes.
teacher. That was that my mother. That was that
Mm,
friend. I was embarrassed. I was
mhm,
this. I was that. And all of a sudden, the things that I know I experienced this myself in my early 30s, it was, oh, someone said, oh, that doesn't sound like you. I said, well, of course it's me. I've been thinking it for my whole life.
yeah.
Right.
Does it?
And they
Mm,
said, well, really? Who do you think that might be? You know?
mhm.
And all of a sudden, I could evaluate, and I think this is such an important thing for
Yes, yes.
everyone to do, to really evaluate what that voice is,
Hmm.
where it came from. Do you agree with it? And if you don't, say bye.
Break free. Bye,
Don't
bye,
need
bye.
it. What, yeah, right. What part of this do I agree with? Is
Yeah.
there a percentage? Is there a little something I like? Keep it. But you have that all of a sudden, then you're living your
Hmm.
own
Mm.
journey, not somebody else's idea of it.
I call it the societal dictation
Yeah, right.
and the programming.
Yeah,
And, we talked about archetypes before in our previous call. And, one of the things I think that we need to understand, there is a spiritual being having a wonderful human experience, and there's
yeah,
the human being trying to connect with spirit. But
yeah.
I think when you actually understand the configuration of the human being, the
Mhm,
archetype, how are we wired? How do we perceive? How are we
mhm.
received? And I think when we understand that better, we
Yeah,
actually can open up to our soul, heart,
right.
and spirit more because we understand how we download or then how we interact. But I really do believe we need to understand the human stuff of us. How much is
Yeah,
dictation? How much is programming? How much is DNA?
right.
How much is
And
characteristic?
exactly. And in that enlightened communication through luminous living course I run, that is the reason, right?
Yeah.
That is the okay, what is this? And then where am I?
Mm,
And so there are a few techniques I teach around how do you actually get into that integrative place where you are connected
yeah.
with yourself and the earth
Yes.
and spirit and you're in alignment so that you actually are in the
One.
place of
Mm,
choosing. Yeah.
yeah.
So you're in that place where you can
I mean,
choose.
that's when we talk about being, at one. That's being at one with self.
Exactly.
It isn't joining the Borg. if anybody's a
Yeah,
Star Trek fan out there,
right.
you know,
Right. Right.
and becoming one big entity. No, it is about being at
No.
one with self,
No, it
because
is
now
that
you're
beautiful.
completely open, you know?
Yeah, the beautiful expression of our individuality,
Hmm.
affected by source, affected by ourselves, affected by the earth. We're all here,
Yeah,
you know?
they're becoming tuned.
Yeah,
I think that's when we truly do hear, we truly do see. We really understand it's not about the knowledge, it's about the wisdom that you feel that understands what the knowledge is here to do.
exactly. Exactly. The way I think of that is uh, the head-heart connection, right? We
Mm.
want we're very smart, we have lots of thoughts, and then we want that little elevator to drop down into the heart
Yes.
and get the wisdom of the heart, because
Hmm.
that's where the wisdom is,
Yes.
really. Like have those thoughts impacted by exactly what you're talking about, that, that deep core, that
Hmm.
heart, that's really going to inform much differently than being cut off here.
Which
Right?
we've been taught to do for so long.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
All head
And we're
intellect,
getting
forget about
back.
anything. We get it. Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
like, the place you're in now, you went in there and you felt it.
yeah.
And nothing about it made rhyme or reason. It didn't kind
No,
of fit my needs, but it was, though, this is where your heart will be able to thrive. This is where your
yeah.
soul will be able to connect,
Where
your
your
spirit
energy can
fly.
expand, where
Yes.
it was so
Yes.
extraordinary though, Sarah. I cannot even tell you, like walking in, having that feeling, looking at some other apartment, coming back in, going, okay, I have to be here, then trying to the funniest example is put a dish in the cabinet and it wouldn't even fit. And it's like every time I would make the decision, then something else would show up that
Yeah.
was so
Yes.
ridiculously wrong.
Yes.
And so I felt like it was this lesson in listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
In letting go
Mm-hmm.
totally of whatever, like stuff for sure, really becoming much more minimalist and
Yeah.
just like, oh, this is so interesting, just the whole journey and that, as you say, that not being the dictator
Right.
of the it has to be this
Mm.
way. This wouldn't make any sense. How could I put my things here? There's no room. And then all of a sudden I started I started blue taping the floor because I had to make sure that I could actually put at least much of my furniture in
Right.
here.
Exactly.
And I thought, you know what? You look at things and it looks like it's impossible. And
Mm-hmm.
then you actually do something
Mm-hmm.
and anything is possible. It's
It's
just
like
how
the
you're framing it.
precisely. It's like I always say, get out of your head, let your heart
Yeah.
roll away, and it's like
Yeah.
trying
Mixture.
to configure something. Like, obviously,
Mhm.
the house right now is kind of the metaphor. It called
Mhm.
you, it wanted you to live there, and now it's like, well, where the hell am I going to put everything? Because the plates don't even fit in the cupboard, right? Uh, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to get rid of those plates. I don't need those plates. I can use different plates, or maybe I can get a different cupboard and put it in there.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we get so caught up and sweat over the small things. And
Right.
the bigger thing is, the house has said to you, this is where your heart can thrive. The
Yeah, exactly.
configuration of everything in that is
Exactly.
needs to be in flow so that
Right.
you can be in flow.
What's so cool about what you're saying is that, and kind of where we started the conversation is that it's not an end result.
No,
It's it is the step, it is that step to the opening. It is the step to what's next,
absolutely.
whatever
Mm,
that is. And we often operate, as you said, this is the goal
yeah.
and that,
A
but
nice little box with a bow on top. Yeah.
right. And there are things, of course, that do have goals that we
Yes.
want to
Put in
address.
there. Yeah.
But it's fascinating to actually allow, and when I walk in, I'm enjoy every time.
Exactly.
And it's like, wow, that's more important than
Yes, because it's
any
home,
attachment to some
right?
anything,
You want it to support your very beingness,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And
And
the
it's like
metaphor goes in all things, right?
absolutely everything,
Somebody
absolutely
goes to a
everything.
job interview and
Yes.
they feel restricted,
Mhm.
and it's like, oh, I would listen to that, right? They go to
Yeah.
a different one and they feel expansive,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly. And
You know,
that absolutely, is where do you feel the best?
yeah.
And when you feel the best, that's when you're in flow. That's when everything, the chi, the energy, the blood,
Mhm.
everything is in flow. That's where creativity comes up.
Yeah.
That's when solutions come up. That's
Mm-hmm.
when epiphanies come up. That's
Mm-hmm.
when the calling, can say, I
Mm-hmm.
can support this action.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And we're very often trying to get into action to support a calling. Well, how about let the calling take the
Lead
reins,
you to the action.
lead you to the action?
Yeah,
Exactly. Put that
yeah,
in the driver's seat.
yeah,
Right. But
yeah.
we're fluid creatures. Everything in our body needs to flow. Our thoughts need to flow because
Mhm.
when they stagnate and become bitter and angry and da 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 da, what happens? Everything breaks down. When we're in flow, and especially then when we step into that calling or we discover it's a calling,
Mhm.
then we know like the force is with me.
Right. And sometimes, people think it's a thing or a particular method or
Mm,
profession, but those are expressions
yeah.
of that calling.
Yes.
Someone's called to serve in a particular way. There could be many ways that that
Absolutely.
manifests itself.
Yeah. Not
Um,
one size fits all, right?
yeah,
What is
yeah,
your calling? And you've
yeah.
got to be willing to take that journey in
Mhm,
exploration, not
mhm.
dictation, to
Right. And
discover what
sometimes
it is.
Right. And sometimes people just wake up and go,
Yes.
"Oh, I think this is my calling," right?
Mm.
Because they've followed their heart.
But you've got to be willing to follow.
Yeah, 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 right.
Right. I mean, how many people do you know that no, I want that money. I want to know what's next. I want to how it needs if there's no. It's like going backpacking. Make sure you have what you need in the backpack to support your journey. But
Yeah.
along the way, you're going to gather other things to go in that backpack.
But
Right.
it is natural for people to, one of the things I talked about in the summit the other day, it is that it's natural for our systems
Mm,
to want to keep the status quo. There's a part of us, the little part maybe, that wants to keep us safe. That's,
mm,
oh, this is unfamiliar. I don't know about this. This is, and so I think there's a lot of, being gentle with the self and
yeah,
really understanding that just because there's a feeling doesn't make that feeling true.
true. You know when it's the
But we
right
need to
feeling.
nurture
Yes.
ourselves into the next position.
I mean that, a lot of people I've interviewed through the years, because I've been doing this 14 years.
Yeah.
uh, and a lot of people have come from corporate, come from big, they chased the carrot. They got up to the top or as far as they could go. And then they realized, they're working 80 hours a week. They have no home life or, they're divorced, which we'll talk about your book in a moment. Their entire life has crumbled. And
Yeah.
they were kind of a slave to this illusion that this would
Mhm.
make them happy. And
Mhm.
they received, they had the nudge, nudge, wink, wink, which they didn't pay attention to. So the
Mhm.
cosmic two by four came along.
Right.
And,
Right.
whether it's illness, whether it's divorce, whether it's the end
Right.
of something. And
Right.
then, you have to grieve for what you've lost,
Hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
that was your familiarity.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then it's okay, now I'm going to just learn to stand up and put one foot in front of the other on this exploratory journey of
Yeah.
what's next and who am I now?
Yeah.
Right. But we've got to understand that some of those doors they can close quietly or they can close with a
They
bang.
can slam.
But there's a reason why they needed to close.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Of course. I think it's absolutely right. I think people in any profession, frankly,
Mm,
go through a period, depending on how they've been socialized, let's say, um, where it's the top that they think they need to go to, or it's the I need to be well known, or I need to be this, or I need to be
hmm.
that. And they're working so hard, and even if they're doing, quote, good works,
Yeah,
they may be destroying themselves
true.
because there is no balance.
No. And,
And
I know
so it's that also
a
gets
lot
that
of people are
perspective.
hitting the word balance as a dirty word. And I feel
Hmm,
the
that's interesting.
equilibrium is, and I've heard this a lot now, no, it's not about balance. And I go, "Oh,
Everything is about balance.
exactly, because when you're off kilter, you know it, right? And
Yeah.
it's not about being rigid in, it's about being in that flow
Mhm.
again, right? Like your DNA, like your blood flow, everything, wavelengths and everything has a rhythm and rhyme to it. And it's
Mhm.
being in that rhythm and rhyme. But what you don't want is the extreme highs and extreme lows, right? So that's what the balance is that we're talking about. But, like your book, Divorce Well and Thrive. Well,
Mhm.
when you divorce, I don't think people get married to divorce.
No,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't.
you do have a few gold diggers, that's their aim, but, we're not
No, that
addressing them.
mostly
But
you get married with a hope. You get
yes,
married with, and you get married because there's a joy and a
yeah.
connection. I talk about that in the book, that there's, the reason it's so difficult when people actually do take the time to
Hmm.
figure out that they do want to part, not just like fly
Yeah.
off the handle.
Yes.
Um, because it was, one of the biggest dreams of somebody's life, right?
And
They
there's
thought
so
they
many
would be with this
stages to it
person
too. Yeah,
forever, quote, forever.
exactly. And that I think is the loss. When I divorced, I'd had 20 years with my husband. Children were growing up. They were beginning to leave the nest and follow their life. And it's like, well, who am I now? With me, I lost myself entirely in my marriage. So it was a total
Mm,
new discovery. But
mm,
for so many people, we had planned to do this when the kids left home. We had planned to do that. And like nobody's there anymore. And there's generally resentment or bitterness, or there's an adjustment because no longer the big house, now you're in the small one, and you're having to start life over again. And then it's like, well, I remember looking at someone young, being the same age as when I met my husband, a young man, and thinking, oh gosh, he's pretty hot. And then realize, but Sarah, this is 20 something years later. You are, too old for him now. But that was the last time I'd looked at anybody to fancy them. So
mhm,
I went
mhm.
back to that, right?
Sure.
And I think, a lot of people look at divorce as a failure. No, it simply didn't work, right? And you may be a different person today. But how do we thrive after divorce and find the love of self? We don't want you to go chasing another love, the love of self. So others can love you in that light. But I think you have to learn to love yourself again after divorce, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's not just about after. I think
Mm,
it's about the process. And
mm,
I think it's about uh, the choice, the decision often is truly about love of self.
mm,
and and really doing well. In the book there's a lot of questions that people can answer and journal and come to a place of peace, but it's really about how do you think, one, because it can be cataclysmic for some, how do you think, um, what is your vision for what you really want? If you have children, you may be in touch with this person for a period of years. What do you really want to have happen?
yeah,
And how do you communicate in a way that allows that to happen? How do you find that strength in yourself
yeah,
to not be bitter, to not
mm,
be angry, to think a little bit more in a self-preservation
yeah,
standpoint, whether you're a man or a woman, frankly, and really hold on to that vision, because that vision is going to keep you from doing uh, the sometimes terrible things that people do,
yes,
whether it's verbally
yeah,
or jumping to conclusions and doing something
mm,
they regret later. But um, I believe the process is a process of finding the self and
mm,
finding that love, and because creating the life after
mm,
is about that. It's about who
yeah,
are you? What do you want? who's your
And
support?
what is your calling?
What is your calling?
Yeah.
What do you want it to look like?
Hmm.
How do I do this differently for the health of everyone involved, including the animals,
Hmm. Oh, yes, yes.
frankly?
Yes. Actually,
Um,
there's a cartoon many years ago I saw in one of the magazines, and you've got, the two spouses sawing everything in half, right? And then the
right.
cat looking,
Right,
ah!
exactly. Exactly. You know, I think in the book there there's some folks who are just getting married
Mm,
reading my book because in it is the route to how to not have a horrible
right.
conversation, how
Yes.
to actually avoid some of the pitfalls, because those pitfalls started way before those people decided to get divorced.
Hmm.
Right. The reactive communication,
Yes.
how do you um, not have the fight about somebody being late? How do you not have
Exactly.
the fight about the dishwasher? How do you
Yeah.
not have the fight about not
Yeah.
finding the parking space, And so there are lots of examples that teach people, oh, what about this? How about doing it this way?
How to
Um,
hear each other, right? How to
yeah,
truly
yeah,
listen and hear each other and
yeah.
validate how that person is feeling.
Exactly, because active listening is a big part of the book. It's a big part of any conversation, no matter what your relationship with children, with
Hmm.
friends, with spouses, because no, as you're saying, the most important thing is that somebody actually feels heard, and you're
Hmm.
not sitting there thinking about the next thing you're going to say,
Yes.
right?
Reactionary. Hmm.
You're actually just being present. I hear you say that. Did I hear you correctly? That's a yes or a no. And then you can then integrate what they're saying and actually be present in the conversation instead of 5 steps ahead or in the last
Exactly.
conversation you had.
I also think is find the ways that each other downloads the problem
Yeah,
and how, because I know with my ex, if you try to talk, defenses went up, my defenses went up, explosions.
yeah.
So I found writing it, sending a
Mhm.
note or letter or whatever,
Right.
and then not demanding a reply straight away.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but kind of waiting for them to come to you,
Hmm.
because I think we have to meet people where they're at. Not
Yeah,
everybody is good at the conversation. Do
yeah,
they need a note? Do they need this? Do they need that?
yeah.
How can you hear them? So that
Right.
when you do actually come face to face with each other, you've really digested what the real issue is.
Yeah,
And
for
now you
sure.
can
I
really
mean,
talk about it.
I had a really interesting uh, I don't know what you would call it, a pivotal understanding. Early on in my marriage, we were in couples therapy, and I knew at that time, we were married
Mm,
for 23 years, but I knew early. I knew when our child was 2 or 3 that this should not be a
yeah,
marriage.
you're right.
And what I realized in the room suddenly was that we perceived the same situation entirely differently.
Hmm.
Like we could be like the room could be decorated entirely differently, right? Like it was so remarkably different
Right.
that I thought, wow, if this is so
Hmm.
in all situations, then
Yeah.
this is going to be a real challenge
Where
because
is the common denominator, right? Where
because
is
you
the
can't,
us? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it was so incredibly different. And I thought, well, okay. But we did a lot of work. But yeah, I think there are a lot of reasons why people stay together and then
Hmm.
divorce. I think there are a lot of reasons. Like there is no situation, I believe, that is exactly the same.
Yeah.
I do think there are themes that will help people that are consistent.
Hmm.
Regardless. My book is not about abuse. It's not
Right.
about an abusive situation. That's not the answer. There are some things in it that could be helpful, but that's certainly not the answer to that situation. a good 800 number is
Yes, yes.
a solution. But there are truths that help each individual move differently
Hmm.
through and really step back and go, again, it comes back to that. Am I connected to my
Yeah,
body? Am
yes.
I making a choice in this moment about reacting, not
Hmm.
reacting, what my words are? It takes a lot of effort
Yeah.
to do something like divorce well, but the benefits are beyond the beyond.
I'm still friendly with my husband. We
Hmm.
walk my daughter down the aisle
Hmm.
together.
Hmm.
We
Great.
can, maybe once or twice a year, he'll come over to my daughter's. I see him, and it's been now nearly 25 years since we
Hmm. Right.
separated, and followed by a divorce. I've forgiven him,
Hmm.
because I also had to look at it. He proverbially kicked me, but I handed him the boots because I
Hmm. Hmm.
didn't feel enough for myself. And I think one of the
Hmm.
things before we, getting married, putting the ring on it, planning the wedding, oh, our lives are going to be so euphoric, is, am I truly bringing the whole of me to this
Right.
relationship? And I think,
Exactly.
the man and the woman or the partners, whatever it is these days, are you as whole as you can be?
Yeah.
Right. And then the two of you wholly coming together and creating an us,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because what you're building together is the us.
That's right. And there's the us, and
Hmm.
there's the individual.
Exactly.
I do a
Not,
lot
it's
of
not about
couples.
completing you.
Yeah, right, right. I do a lot of coaching in this realm, but I also do a lot of couples therapy with people. And um, the one of the bottom lines really is, are you in each other's corner? Are
Mm,
you actually being you, as you say, here I am, supporting that person in their dreams, but making sure you are supporting your own,
exactly.
and vice versa. And those are the people who succeed the best
Yeah.
when they can actually step back and go, I really do care about your dream.
Hmm.
I care about my own. I want to fulfill my own, but I also care
Right.
that you have an aspiration. You know, you have
And
a
can you
journey
do it at the
too.
same time? Or is like, this person's been given a golden opportunity right now, so
Yeah,
let's support them. And then later on, there'll be an opportunity for me.
yeah,
And it's not about, all or nothing. It's
yeah,
how to be flexible, how to be that seesaw, and especially when it comes to children.
yeah. And it's a daily thing too. It's
Yes,
not just
yes.
like the big medical school or the
Yeah,
journey across the, Himalayas. It's,
right.
that day to day. Am I really supporting you as a human, as a being, in this room at this moment with what's happening? And when you talk about children, it's like, you know, do not criticize the other parent in front of the children when they're trying to do something with the
Exactly.
children.
Yeah, exactly.
You can talk about it later and change your whole frame of reference, but
Hmm.
like obviously unless it's something terrible that's
Right.
happening. But um
But that's, what we're doing and what we seem to do in our work and what we do in relationships is we bring our insecurities or our expectations that have been passed down to us, that are in our DNA, the programming, from society, from
yeah,
family, and we think that we're operating on everything. And then as systematically things break down and
yeah.
realize, but I oiled that joint. Why is it all squeaky now?
Well, and I think
And
that's
what have
part
I
of
done
growth.
wrong?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's really important because that is part of the growth journey,
Hmm.
right? That we take what we were taught or what we
Yeah.
believe and we run with it, and then we see what is or is not
Hmm.
actually real or working, and then there's a choice. Do we keep doing the thing that isn't working, or
Yeah.
do we find another way, or do we understand that, oh, like this is a moment
But
where
is there
I
willing
can
to adjust?
evolve?
Exactly.
and learn more and figure this out and be creative and on
Exactly.
and on. But I think we do that many times in our lives.
Yes. I mean, you got that feeling from your husband right from the word go, like, why are we together? We're chalk and cheese. Yeah, you went to therapy and you lasted 23 years. So
Yeah, I mean, we had a child. We both were
yeah.
older parents. We wanted
Hmm.
to parent that child
Hmm.
together. Um,
So you did
and
you
it was not
compromise or
simple.
you found a balance?
It's an interesting question. Um, I think it took, I think at different times it was different things.
Hmm.
I think we found a way to work together
Right.
in this. And I think for me, anyway, it was in service to the child.
Yeah.
As a clinician at the time, that was my primary work. I wasn't going to be in a situation where it was going to be toxic for my son.
Hmm.
And so I was watching really, really carefully all those
Hmm.
years. And we would go in and out of couples therapy or in a little bit of family therapy or
Hmm.
whatever to keep the balance so that there was health
Right.
in the household. It wasn't the most fabulous, I mean, there is no most
Yeah.
fabulous. Um, and we waited until our son was really his nervous system was ready.
Hmm.
Now, not everybody can do that. Not
No.
everybody wants to do that. So that's why I say every individual has a
Hmm.
different journey. And so we waited until he was the summer of his freshman year in high school.
Right.
Uh, and the journey, even then, I think, when people look at the book or they talk, like they hear me talk and they go, oh, but it sounds like it was so easy, and it wasn't easy.
Nothing's easy about divorce,
It
though, or
wasn't
separation
easy.
from
There
an
were
individual.
always, hurt things or people felt this or
Yeah.
that. But one of the things that we did, and I did really, was to create a situation where we were very strategic about how our community viewed us as divorcing.
Mm.
We had a separation party that dictated, like, we're okay. We
Hmm.
want to be invited to the same parties. We
Yes.
don't want there to be strange questions to our child. Here it is. This is what's
Hmm.
happening. Come and celebrate the next phase of our lives if you
Right.
choose. And if you don't, at least you know the drill.
Well, I
Right,
did the same thing, even though
right.
my children told me to divorce because at that point it was incredibly toxic, and
Mm,
I had become really ill from the
mhm,
toxicity, and
mm.
so, but just to keep, because we still had, a daughter at home, and my son was still with me for a bit. For the first 5 years, we would still go to parties, friends'
Sure,
parties, this,
sure.
that. We are completely separated. He's moved on with someone else. Um, and it was only when I went into another relationship 5.5 years later,
Mhm.
then things completely changed. But it was, and the beauty of that is that if any of that toxicity raised its head, I could get up and walk out.
Well, right, right,
All right.
exactly. Like there's a whole section in the book about like that middle time and then post that
Hmm.
and life post.
Yeah.
What are you actually doing? And also the little warning signal that you're so used to not having to deal with
Right.
whatever it was you were dealing with. When
Yes.
it shows up, you're shocked. And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh. So you have to
No
be
way, mate.
prepared not to be
Yeah.
shocked because it's still going to show up at some point.
Yes.
But, the other thing that I think what you talk about is important. And like my son also said, boy, I knew you guys should divorce. I just, didn't think you'd ever do it.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And so it's very important. People say, well, the children don't know, or the children
Yeah.
this, or they
They
know
know.
everything.
They know. They
And,
may not understand, but they
but
certainly are
they,
in the feeling of it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
And then I think over time, depending on what people choose to do, relationships evolve. Like you
Yes.
see your former husband a couple
Hmm.
times a year and
Yeah.
it's okay. I have a relationship with my former husband that's a good friendship.
Yes,
Um, and some people choose never to see the person again. If
right.
right? Or some people the even with doing it better than, some bad w other ways, but still difficult. They, you know, it's as little as possible because they have a child and they have to, but you know, um, there's no right or wrong. There's just healthy and healthier and
Yeah.
healthier if possible.
I mean, I stayed because I thought this is only affecting me, not the children.
Never.
Right. And then, of course, then the children brought it up of how much it's affecting them. And so then that was a different scenario because you always think you're taking it and they're okay. Right. And it's like, no,
Well, no, it's an environment. It's a whole
exactly,
system. It's a
exactly.
system.
And you're
We live
so
in
caught up in
systems.
just surviving, the next person that's coming through that door, which was you never know which personality, um, that
Mm.
you're not actually being in a space to see how it's affecting.
No, it's actually what I call a silo.
Hmm.
You're really
Yeah,
siloed off from that integrative self
yeah,
and just trying to
absolutely.
cope or trying to, and what I try and teach people is have one foot in that integrated self, have one
Mhm.
foot in if you're being reactive, and, see if we can come all the way
No,
in.
both feet were out for a while, but I think that, when we were talking about the calling and the taking
Mhm.
action,
Yeah.
it is that we separated before the divorce because didn't want to give me the divorce for a while. I had to wait until he really wanted it, which was
Mhm.
7 years later, but that's fine. We were separated. I think that's really take the actions. What courses do you need to do? Who do you need to see? What do you need to do to understand yourself now? Because you're not
Exactly.
that 20-year-old, right? You're somebody of a mature age. You've been through a lot. You've raised children. Who am I now?
Yeah.
And you've got, do not go rushing into another relationship, please. The next relationship
Yeah.
has to be with yourself. And the more you nurture and discover who you are, that wonderful self discovery of the wisdom and the joy and the calling that lies within you, the more
Right.
you'll find your meaningful purpose.
Right. There's there are two courses that go with the book. One is a self-study. It's a 4-session course where people really do have to ask all those questions,
Mm,
and they have, suggestions about who they can speak with and who are the best people to help them in different ways. And then there's the 8-week that has me every other time. So they get the data and then they also have me as a resource. And I think a lot of the points that you're talking about are extremely important
mm,
and are all peppered throughout the course. So if somebody needs a more personal touch in
yeah.
this divorce law and thrive process, they can have it.
I mean, we talk about divorce between a spouse or a partner, but there's also that same type of divorce away from a career or
Yes,
from the
that's right.
person that you used to be.
That's right.
It's the same process. It's just that you may not have, somebody else lingering there, but an
Well, there
end
are
of something.
professions that
Yeah,
linger
exactly. You're
and
married. How many
colleagues
people
and
are married 20 years to the profession, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, and friendships and all kinds
Hmm.
of, transitions,
Yes.
transformations, and they have to do with identity. They have to do with
Yes.
who, how do you have a relationship with self first so that you can actually have that relationship with others and with the work and so on.
Back in our day, it used to be anytime you did anything that was self-help, it was considered conceited and who do you think you are?
Hmm.
And now it is about please take the journey
Yeah,
of self-help. Please take the journey of self-discovery. Please ignite your heart and soul and spirit. Please become that one and
right.
step into your purpose and your calling now, because
Right.
that's
It
how
went
you are
from
a
being
contributor.
impractical to
Yeah.
quite practical.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And that big word of learning to say no
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
people, and learning to put yourself first. It's
Yeah.
uh
The distinction between being selfish and actually being, healthy and self-aware and
yes,
available to others.
right.
There's a difference there
And you
between
might
being
be in a phase
self-centered.
where you can't be available to anyone right now and let them know that.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Right now,
communication is the key for
yes,
everything. That's my
yes.
whole thing is communication. Yeah.
And, sometimes we just don't know where we're at. We
Mhm.
just know that we need to take time for ourselves. It's the importance of you, not self-importance,
Yeah.
right? And it's like,
Sometimes that means that somebody needs to have a guide of some
yes,
kind,
yeah,
right? To not, it's like there something's wrong and they need time to themselves. But if it's time to themselves and it's going
in a
around and
circle,
around and around, then maybe then it's time to ask some questions and see who can be helpful to them.
right? And you'll know when that time is right.
Hmm.
You kind of sit in it, the shock, the grief, the this and that, and then that, where next? What action do I need to take to my calling now? Where am I called to be? Who am I called to be? But you're not going to get that straight out of the gate. If there
Right. And
is
I
kind
think
of,
when we talk about it that way, calling sounds like a very big thing. And
you're
I
right,
think it's really very much one
step at a time.
little step at
Yeah,
a time that builds
yeah.
kind of where it is we tend to go on this journey and
And who we are
listening.
going there, which is
Yeah,
really, really important.
yeah, yeah.
Is this your only book?
So it's my only solo book right now. I'm in several multi-author books.
Mm-hmm.
One that actually talks about this is rights and rituals.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole bunch of things. Uh, the intuitive entrepreneur. I'm in all of these, but some of them are about healing, like actual, I have a chapter in art therapy and cancer care. I began as an art therapist. Um, and they're different. Each of these books has a different methodology, right? It's a story and a method, a tool that some people can use. And so in my book, my own book, and these books, they're wonderful collections of things that really serve people well. Um, so,
And that's really the thing. It is all about that services you're talking about, right? It
mhm,
is about becoming um, who you are, why you are, and everything else. And of course, you are in the Mission Accepted 262 book.
mhm.
I'm in that as well. And I think you
Yes,
might be my 52nd person
yes,
interviewing that from
wonderful
that book.
collaborative.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you talked about the summit that you're in last week, which another one is coming up, Mission Accepted 262, and Deb Drummond, interviewing the women. And of course, this time on the summit, she had men as well, which was great to see. But it is about that empowerment.
Yeah,
It's not about power, it's about empowerment. It is about supporting one another. It
yep.
is about celebrating. And it is about knowing you're enough, wherever you're
Hmm.
at. And that, but
Hmm.
the encouragement always to discover, who can you be tomorrow? But it's
Yes.
not it's
Yeah.
not coming from a place of not satisfaction. It's coming from a
Right.
place of
It's a
exploration.
place of growth
Yes,
and the more we collaborate and speak with each other and learn about things and you know the sometimes it's just getting inspired by somebody else. Mm.
exactly. I always say inspiration begets invitation,
Ah, yeah.
because we're invited to then pivot or
Yep.
take action or just be lifted, and
Yep.
that's the important thing. And you're here to support people on their journey wherever they're at. Uh,
Hmm.
the end of something, the beginning of something else.
Hmm.
And uh, and then, we've got to understand, I have an analogy, the sunny side of the street, and, people are in
Hmm.
the dark and we can't help them until they come out onto the street. And then there's
Hmm.
various people with various skills that
Hmm.
can help them at whatever stage of journey they're at.
Exactly.
But we can't go into the dark for you. We're here ready when you're ready. And I
Hmm.
think that is that part of that free will. When we've said, this is no longer serving me. So if it's
Hmm.
not serving me, how can I be of service to others?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and be willing to take that journey of exploration. It's okay to close the door on your past and
Yeah.
go, that doesn't fit me anymore. We don't wear the same clothes every day, and we haven't for a lifetime, right? It's okay to change it all up.
Yeah. And it's okay to poke a little finger out.
Yes. Oh, the weather's okay. I can step out, right? But that goes back to, the courage and the strength and the resilience in order to thrive. You don't jump into thrive. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful journey into
Mhm.
thriving.
Yeah.
And then when you do get there, then you actually do understand why
Mhm.
you're here and what you're here to do.
Yeah. And I
And
think it's also, again, a step by step. You understand things as they come,
yes, because you're
right?
present.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the important thing. When you're present with yourself, all sorts of things, like the right house, steps up, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if we're busy chasing or busy living for tomorrow, and we're not seeding today or paying attention to what is being shown to us today, we'll always be chasing and we will never find. So we got to be present to actually understand who we are and what comes next.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now you've got a free offer for
I
people.
do. I
If you can
do.
share what that is.
Sure. So it's a kind of a dual, people can choose. One is a mini mindset session so that they come with something that they're, either struggling with or have a particular thought about, and they want to shift it out into something that might work better for them, or they don't know what the problem is. And
Yeah.
so we do that. Or they could do a discovery call around whatever's going on in their lives and seeing which of the things that I do might be useful to them, or if there's someone I want to refer them to, um, so that they get to kind of see where they're at and what they want to do.
And of course, to get that free gift, there's two ways they can do it. One, they can come to selfdiscoverywisdom.com and simply put in your name, Liz,
Mhm.
L-I-Z, Goll, G-O-L-L, Lerner, L-E-R-N-E-R. And your whole show page will come up with all our information on it. But
Fabulous.
also then go to your websites as well.
Yeah, if they go to the website, then I suggest they just book a discovery call.
Right.
It'll just say discovery call.
You have
And
two websites.
I do. There's yourinspiredchoices.com. And then there's enlightenedcommunicationinstitute.com. Enlightenedcommunicationinstitute.com is uh, a bit more focused on business and people who want to grow in how they're behaving in their business lives. And but also there's the link to enlightened communication through luminous living that I mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
Fabulous, so much fun course that takes people through their which of their archetypes are saboteurs and champions,
Hmm.
and how do they find that inner core self to make those choices and just thrive. Um, and they can get that on the Your Inspired Choices as well.
Wonderful. And of course, you're on
And Divorce
Instagram.
Well and Thrive, of course, is there, and the courses are there, and
Right,
yeah.
right. And of course, there's a link to all of your books here as well. And of course, Instagram, Liz Lerner, Facebook, Inspired Choices, LinkedIn, your
My
name,
name.
and your YouTube, Inspired Choices. So
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
all there. But if you want to get this free call, either go through her site or come back here and and see all the information here. But it's like no one can help you until you ask for help,
Yep.
right? And you know, the whole thing I think is I've had this in the past where people say, but just fix me. No, I'm not here
Oh, well, that's
to,
not going to happen.
no, no. I'm here to provide you with tools and
Mhm,
knowledge for you to apply. My
mhm.
motto for my shows are listen, learn, and apply. But that goes for anything in life.
I,
Listen.
I guess I think about my work as a collaboration
Hmm.
with people, and uh, the accelerated breakthrough coaching that I do and the Divorce Well and Thrive coaching, their individual coaching programs. Um, People do, as you say, have to reach out. They have
Yes.
to get the information, but it doesn't end there.
Hmm.
There's that collaboration that helps them understand how to use that information,
Right.
and that's very exciting,
It's
actually.
kind of you're giving permission for someone to help you with their skills and tools for you to apply in your life. And there is your cheerleader and your supporter,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
you have to participate in your own journey.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and
Well,
that is the the big thing in life is that if you're not happy where you're at, don't wait for someone on a shiny coat to come and rescue you.
yeah.
It's about you looking at your life and going, no, I can redirect. I can choose to live positively by going down a different path? What do I need to do for myself in order to
Yeah.
take that journey?
I totally agree. And I would add to that people often find it very frightening to make those changes. And I
Mm,
think to just assure people
mm,
that it really is going to be okay. That it may not feel okay, um, or there may be moments that really don't feel okay,
hmm.
but there are going to be moments that do feel okay. And eventually those moments come together and you find the power that you need and the
Yeah.
tools that you need and the wisdom that you need and how to take an action that is of service to you,
Hmm.
um, so that you can land where you really want to be.
What
Um,
I have found through the years of doing this is that people who have taken that journey of self-discovery, of self-healing, self-realization, who am I? What is my service?
mm,
No matter what's happened to them, how hard they've been knocked down,
mhm,
they chose to get back up. They chose to go through the process, however rocky it was at first. And
mhm,
then now they've become the coaches and the mentors and
mhm,
the advocates because they understand where you're at.
mhm,
And having
mhm.
somebody who understands where you're at just helps you comprehend where you're at and where you
Yeah,
can go,
right.
right?
That's so
Because half the
true.
time people go, I just don't know where I'm at anymore, right? And it's a common feeling to feel that way because your expectation has been severed
Mhm.
and you're fearful of, the tomorrows. So stop
Yeah,
worrying about tomorrow. Pay attention to today, one
yeah,
step at a time.
yep, yes, exactly.
So don't forget to go to Amazon and look at all her wonderful books that she has there.
Yes, just check out the author page under my name if you want to
Yeah.
see all the possibilities.
And of course, the women's accepted 262. Yeah, it's actually gone to the Emmys and the Oscars and the
Yes, I've
Grammys.
been to the Emmys
You were there at the Emmys.
and I was
Wonderful.
there at the Oscars,
Well, okay, before closing out, tell
and
us
I'm
what that was
actually going
about.
to have my own table at the Emmys in September.
Oh, wonderful, fantastic. Tell us a little bit, because, joining a book, I've known Deb for a long time, long before she did this book. And I know that, she was doing this book and then she had something else planned. And then this book has taken on a life of its own, with Emmys and Grammys and now her own TV channel and etc. And if there's 262 people in the book, and each person has written a kind of a page and a bit, but it is that accumulation of wisdom. But
Mhm.
going to the Emmys, going to the Oscars, doing all of this, how has the response been to the book from your eyes?
What do you mean?
Well, you're meeting people, that are stars that are in the industry. They're coming up and talking to you. They're looking at this book. Some have read it, some haven't, some buy it. But how have you found the doors have opened through it?
So I think there are a few different ways. Um, I think there's a very extremely positive response. I think people are very excited about that and excited about the movement of supporting
Mm,
International Women's Day and women all over the world having
right.
voice. Um, I think it fits in with, for some of the people who come to the gifting suite, which is where we
Hmm.
are, Heather Mariana's gifting suite, um, at the Emmys and the Oscars. Many of the celebrities support certain causes or have their own, and they're very excited about the book, and there will be another edition, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And so that and the Women's Channel, I think that there are many ways in which people are profoundly touched, where um, I'm blocking his last name, but Tyrone had his mother put into the 262 book,
Mm,
and it has meant the world to him because when we are talking with the folks that come and uh, to our area, um, we're really talking about who in their lives, what woman in their lives had the most effect or
mm,
felt that they had the most effect in the world.
yeah.
And people come to tears, actually,
Yes.
many,
Yes.
talking about this. in that setting. And so it's quite extraordinary what this evokes
Hmm.
in people, and just the idea that, being um, being sort of a clarion call for women's
Yeah.
voices in
Yeah.
all walks of life, um, as Deb says, may just push that wind of energy over to someone who doesn't, in a country that it's
Yeah.
more difficult, where they might just do something that they might not have had the courage to do or say. Um, that this is not finite.
Yes, exactly.
It
It's the
reaches as
invitation.
many people as possible in the physical or in, the energetic.
Hmm.
And so it just continues to grow.
Which is wonderful, because I
Yeah.
I have another genre called the author's kiss, because I do a book, I believe that it's like an embrace and it keeps on giving.
Yeah, yeah.
And this book is certainly,
Yeah,
it
it keeps
keeps
on
on
giving.
giving. Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
and you don't know who it's going to affect or how,
Yeah,
but it's being
exactly.
present with it, and when somebody does connect with you on it, to share what it's meant to them.
Yeah.
That really is a source of nectar for the author, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Right. So
Yeah.
wonderful. So you're off to the Oscars next year.
The Emmys in
Um,
September.
Emmys in September, and you were at the
Yeah, with my
Oscars this
book
last year.
and my
Right.
work. So
Right.
that'll be exciting.
Yeah. I mean, who knew that those doors could be open to anyone, right? So,
Yeah, right.
and that's the beauty of it. It is, I don't ever want to hear people say, oh, it never happened to me, or I could never do that, because you have no idea what you can do and what you can't do
Well,
until
I
you
gotta say,
try.
saying yes is I
Yes.
mean, appropriately,
Yes. Appropriately.
is an interesting process, a journey in itself, because, the yes leads to the next and the next and the
Yes.
next. And yeah,
Yeah.
so,
And don't sell yourself short. You have no idea.
yeah, right.
Start spreading those wings, and you have no idea where you can fly. But
Yeah.
just, bring back a certain amount of wonderment and exploration, and just, as Yoda says, just do.
Yeah. Go Yoda.
Yes, very wise Yoda. This has been wonderful illumination. Thank you so much, Liz,
Oh,
for
thank
being here
you.
today.
I
And, the
appreciate it.
takeaway from it is that we all have a calling. We are all beautiful, um, human divine beings having an extraordinary journey in life. And it's like you're going to get endings where,
Mm.
divorce of anything. And it's like, but it's all it
But you
is
get the
like,
beginning.
it's the beginning. But you don't want to jump into the very next thing. What you want to do is discover who you are. So
Mhm,
whatever opportunity comes for opportunity you create for yourself, you
mhm,
know that you're bringing the whole of you to it,
mhm,
right? And even
mhm.
then, the discoveries of self are going to open up, chapter after chapter in your own book of life. Just be
Mhm.
willing to live it, which is so
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
And of course, to remember, flies, your site again. Sorry, being attacked here. Um, yourinspiredchoices.com or the enlightened communication institute.com. Reach out for the wonderful gift, but just reach out and just start the
Yeah.
process.
Say
Help
hi.
yourself. Yeah. Yep. And
Have a conversation.
get the book, and see what it does for you, or the 262 book, or any of our other books that are there. But
Mhm.
please, folks, spread your wings a little bit and take that first step, because you
Yeah.
have no idea where it's going to take you until you do. So thank you so much, Liz, for being here.
Oh,
To
thank you. My
everyone
pleasure.
else out there, remember, you are beautifully, flawsomely awesome. Don't be afraid to be yourself and go in your own self-discovery. So until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you to listen to right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Come and hear the illumination that's going to shed light on your path.
Find your path with the knowledge of others.